Oh boy, finally made it to the old spooky castle. Wait, Raggy? Wait, who are you? Raggy! Raggy, I'm being chased by three people. I don't know who they are. Oh, this is a mystery I don't like. Ruby dooby doo! Boo, Raggy! Oh, it's so spooky up here. Raggy! I just want a Scooby snack. Raggy! Anybody home? Hey, it's actually pretty nice in here. You know what? I think I'm gonna light up. Raggy. Scoob's getting high tonight. What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Huntsman weapons tier list video. It's super early in the morning, and I have slept a grand total of 2 hours, but here we go. Starting off in D tier, big surprise here, one of my least favorite weapons in the game, the mace and shield. You know, I've talked about this before, but when a shield bash comes second in a sequence like this, I just really don't like it, man. The mace, it's not great for armor. What shines about the Huntsman is that he gets like extra headshot damage. He gets, a little bit more crits than everybody else. He has a talent where crits can make enemies take more damage. And with this kind of a weapon, it doesn't really work for him because, you're going to be blocking, you're going to be bashing, and the only real way you can get a headshot that does any kind of substantive damage with this weapon is from your push hit. And even then, it's not great, and you have to hit it. So this one I have strongly in the D tier. Also in the D tier, might come as a surprise, but this is the sword and shield. And the reason I have this one in the D tier, even though the bash comes first, which I like, is that a shield weapon, to me, doesn't make a whole lot of sense for a ranged class like Huntsman. As I mentioned, he's got the extra headshot damage, and that can work with that little charge attack from the sword. But, he's not Foot Knight, right? He doesn't have an extra stamina shield. He doesn't have a whole lot of health. He doesn't have anything that would really make him work super well with a shield type weapon. He's more of like a get a headshot kind of guy, control a crowd kind of guy. He has an aura that gives 5% extra crit chance or something. So why would you want to equip this guy with a shield? You're going to seriously lower his damage output. He's not a tank, so it doesn't make sense. End of story. Up in C tier, I have the regular old sword. Now, as far as offensive weapons go, this one is actually pretty player friendly. The motions are kind of simple, kind of easy to use. The charge attacks, they're just horizontal swings. So, it can definitely be used. The only problem with this one is it really struggles against armor. Most weapons, if they struggle against armor, you can do the push hit and that'll kind of land you an easy headshot or land you kind of a big staggering blow. And this one's push hit just isn't all that great. It's just kind of a mediocre weapon. So, I just kind of keep it in C tier. The really only way to deal with elites with this kind of weapon is just a charge attack. So, one-dimensional kind of weapon. Who cares? Bumping up to C tier, I have the mace. And then this weapon actually can do some decent damage with Huntsman because, as I mentioned, it's got that extra headshot damage talent. And the charge attacks with the mace are actually very easy to get headshots, so it's actually pretty decent for elites. And I would have it higher in this tier list, except it kind of struggles with hordes. The light attack motions are like a downward slant from the right, and then another downward slant from the left. But then it's like an upward slant from the bottom right, and then back down from the left. So it's kind of like they're just like X motions, there's nothing real kind of horizontal that'll let you take out a line of enemies, kind of give you a little bit of time to breathe. You're gonna have to be constantly like dodging, backing up, or just staying real close to a team to be able to use this one. But it is good for elites, and we'll give it that. And it has some decent speed when you use those charge attacks. Bumping up to B tier, I actually have the Greatsword up here. Now this one I think works really well with Huntsman. You know, after I've used this one a little bit, I found I actually quite like it. It's a pretty fun weapon. It's really good for hordes, you know, and it's the same motions over and over again, so it's pretty easy to be able to get consistent headshots against a horde. And then when it comes to elites, like, you would think it would struggle, but it's got a really good push hit motion, and if you can get the headshot on it, you know, maybe 2-3 of those will take out most big elites. So this is actually a pretty decent weapon. It does lack a little bit of speed, but with Huntsman, you have extra crit chance. So as long as you have Swift Slaying, I think you'll be alright with this one. I like this one for B tier. Bumping up to A, I actually have the Great Hammer here. Now this one I think makes actually pretty decent sense for Huntsman because its light attacks are just easy headshots. It's got freaking armor piercing, so it can totally just deal with elites like no problem. And then the charge attacks are just kind of, you know, side swipes and long swings, which let you deal with hordes. And again, you're going to have that extra crit chance. You're going to have that extra. You can either have that extra headshot damage, or you can have, you know, the critical hits give you 20% more damage. So he's actually got some options when it comes to melee, which is what I like in a class, especially a ranged class. So this is definitely a really good weapon for you to use with him because it can just make you an all-around versatile player. You know, you can charge attack, take out that line of enemies, dodge back, whip out your bow, shoot something if you have to, or you could just keep on charge attacking, throw in a light attack for an elite, and you're good to go. Also in A tier, I have the mace and sword, and this is a weapon that I actually really like. One of my, I won't say my favorites, but it's up there for me. I really like this one. Now, the only downside of this one is the light attack motions are kind of slow, you know, especially if you're not critting. Like, you're gonna need Swift Slaying, you're gonna need crit chance and all that with this weapon. But where it shines are its charge attacks. It's a really player-friendly weapon. It is a DLC weapon, by the way. But the charge attacks are really player-friendly. They're really easy to use. But the real thing that shines about this one is its push hit attack. So I think you only have 3 stamina with Huntsman, but it's still enough to be able to use it pretty good for hordes. The push attack, it's like a little X motion or an X attack, I believe. And I was actually made aware of this somewhat recently. It's actually got like infinite cleave from that X attack. So you can take out just like an infinite number of enemies. So that can actually be really useful. If you're just surrounded and you need to get out of something real quick, 3 quick X attacks, you know, you can take out a crap ton of enemies. So it's actually quite good, I think. And now we have 3 weapons when it comes to the S tier here. So let me start with one of my favorites, the halberd. Now this weapon I think is really great. You have tremendous range on this weapon, so you can play kind of at a distance, right? It's also super fast, so you can just deal with hordes, chop them up into little bite-sized sushi pieces, no problem. And the charge attacks have massive headshot damage, especially with his 50% more headshot damage talent. Couples super nicely with this. This is still a fantastic weapon that I think gets underrated and kind of thrown by the wayside a little bit. But halberd is freaking legit, dude, especially on Huntsman. Also in the S tier, one of my personal favorites, the Tuskor Spear. This is the other DLC weapon for those of you that do not own it. But this one's really good because it's nice and fast. Also has pretty good range, much like the halberd. Can do some big headshot damage. But what really shines for this one for me are the push hit attacks. So when you're blocking and then you attack from the block position, you do like just pretty much a complete side swipe. So you can just take out a whole freaking 2 or 3 lines of enemies because you go completely across the screen, but you have all this range, so you're going to be able to hit like a ton of enemies with it. And it's great for making a bunch of temp health, you know. It's got defensive properties there, and it's also really good for staggering things, much like a Chaos Warrior or like a Chaos Raider or something. You might actually be able to knock a Chaos Raider over, but a Chaos Warrior, you know, if you catch him before he does his charge attack, you can just push attack, push attack, push attack, and he'll be stun locked pretty much, almost like the way the bill hook can stun him, but you know, you'll go for his knees or his chest or whatever. So Tusk or Spear, excellent weapon. You can hold it back, you can run a little faster, you know, if you're behind a squad and you need to catch up. So it's got a little bit of it's a bit unique, you know. It's a fun little weapon. And then also an S tier, big surprise to everyone out there, but the Executioner Sword, also phenomenal with Huntsman. As I mentioned, 50% more headshot damage, lets you just absolutely one-shot everything with that charge attack. Completely monstrously powerful weapon here. It's also great for hordes, as long as you get, you know, keep it above the neck, get them headshots, you'll be doing extra damage, you'll be cleaving through people. It's freaking sweet, dude. Executioner Sword, massive damage. It's the Chad weapon. So that is my list for Huntsman. In S tier, I have Executioner Sword, Tusk or Spear, Halberd. A tier, I have the Great Hammer and the Mace and Sword. B tier, I have the Great Sword, all alone. C tier, I have the regular old sword, the mace, and down in D tier, I have the 2 shield weapons, Mace and Shield and Sword and Shield. So let me know what you guys thought about this list. If I got anything wrong, if I got anything right. Hopefully I got something right. But yeah, let me know.